Welcome to Gym Owner Freedom. I am Scott Carpenter, and I am a former broke, struggling, frustrated, and overworked gym owner that felt stuck no matter what I did to try and improve the business. Once I realized that the answer wasn't what I thought it was, just getting more clients, and after really doing the math on acquisition and churn rates, I realized I wasn't even playing a winnable game to begin with. With my current price structure, mathematically, there was no way I could afford to pay my staff so I could scale up and out of the business, that I can have the time, the money, the impact, and the freedom that I always knew I was capable of. Once I learned how to add value by selling transformational programs to people who needed more than just workouts, everything changed in my life. Today, I own 6 gyms that all run without me, and I am free to pursue my passion projects and work just because I love to, not because I have to. And if that's a goal that we mutually share together, then this is the show for you. I'm going to teach you the framework to make way more money with less clients and open up a world of possibilities to you. Subscribe, leave a review, and tune in every week. It'll change your life. I promise you that. Yeah, welcome, guys. Back in the 60s, I would say, welcome hats and cats. And today is just a different world, So welcome men and women and pansexual and everybody gender fluid, robots, aliens, and the sort. And anybody I left out, everyone is welcome here except for pedos. If you're a minor attracted individual, you can just sign off now. But that's my attempt at being PC, probably failed. But today we got a good one, guys. So today we're going to go over how to double your profits in half the time. And at the end of the day, this is crucial for all of us. We don't just want to make the money that we need. We want to have some freedom with our time. And we want to start handing off roles that we are not as interested in, that we don't enjoy as much, to buy back our time. You are one person. And if it's always you, you are always going to be the bottleneck for you moving forward. You're going to be the person that holds yourself back all the time. And thankfully, I've gotten very lucky to have some awesome individuals in my life, starting back with Dave, my partner, right? In PT Legends. He co-owns gyms with me. Dave and Ron's not on this call, but Ron is a co-owner in another location. If it weren't for those two guys, I'd probably be bankrupt at this point. But what I realized, man, it is so much about other people, and then so much about how you direct and delegate and work together. And Dave, how long did it take us to where we're actually working together on where it's not 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 = 6, 1 + 1 = 9? How long did it take us to figure that out?
8 years, almost a decade.
Yeah, which is ridiculous because we like each other, we know each other, we trust each other, but it's really hard to get some traction going, and where we're all doing less work but making more money. And that's really what we want to share with you today. And a big shout out goes to Big Josh Price right here, who's going to be chiming in too, because wow, has Josh been instrumental in helping us adopt an operating system for the business, which is taking us from operating at 20% to operating at 80 to 100% of our potential, which is unbelievable. So what we've been starting to do has just been helping us so much. And we've been starting to implement it, not just with PT Legends, but inside of our gyms. And yeah, we're all feeling it. It's doing so well. And so we're going to share with you how we are doing this. And this is the recipe for you to double your profits with half the time, with half the work. One thing, make sure that you stick around to the end of the training, because what we're going to do is we're going to give away an opportunity for you to learn the next 3 steps that you need to take with your gym to double profits while cutting weekly hours in half. Now, some of you may have to leave early. If that's the case, whether you're in our Zoom or you're watching on Facebook, comment right now, double profits right now, and I'll make sure to add you onto the list, and we'll hit you up later in case you can't stay to the end. So comment double profits, whether you're in our private Zoom room or whether you're on Facebook, and we'll make sure to get to it. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk about how to double your profits in half the time. And there's 3 pieces that we really want to share with you today. So number 1 is our gym operating system, and how you have to set your larger 1-year goals in order to be able to walk this thing backwards and figure out where you need to be. So we're going to talk about your year goals and really how do you establish your 90-day rocks in order to do this. The second thing we're going to go over is your accountability chart, your organization. Who is in it? What are those roles? So everybody's very clear on not just what they do, but what they own. And then who do you need to put in place for you to really start doubling these profits, right? Who do you need to add to your team? Who do you need to subtract to your team? What do you need to do there? And then we're going to let you know, what is our cadence? You're the owner, right? What is the cadence that you need to meet with your staff and the direction you need to give so they feel plugged in? They're part of something bigger. They're doing what they need to do so we all can get out of this what we want. So those are the three things that we're going to hit today. And yeah, make sure to comment double profits if you can't make it to the end or you think you might be interrupted, because we're going to get you that. Brad Hall, make sure to make a note of that one. So Brad, and if one of you guys can DM to get his info since he's on Zoom, so because we might not see him on Facebook, that would be awesome to make sure we take care of him. And again, on Facebook, we'll be able to hit you up afterwards too. So you'll be at the top of the list for it. So should we get right into it, guys? Sound good? Josh, I'm going to rely on a lot of you because a lot of this stuff really came from your brain. But man, since we've been implementing this over the past 3 weeks, I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing my whole entrepreneurship career wrong for like 12 years. And I can't tell you what a relief it is that we're all moving in the same direction and in the right seats, right? So it's pretty cool. We had everybody on the right team, just not in the right seats necessarily. But first thing we're going to talk about is kind of our gym operating system. And the fact of the matter is you got to figure out where you're going first. And if you get really clear on where you're going, it's really easy to build a bridge backwards and figure it out. But so many of us are just too wishy-washy on that shit. And we got to make some decisions. And it's okay if you change them 3 months later, 6 months later, that's okay. But you've got to figure out where you're going in order to figure out how to get there. So let me share the screen right here. And let me share the screen right here. And we've got to really dial in. Everybody see this? Thumbs up if you can. Sweet. So what's up, V-Man? I see V-Man just joined in. That's awesome. We're going to do a true Hollywood story podcast. He's a dude who's been in the industry for decades, has some fun stories with my hero, Arnold Schwarzenegger, that I can't wait till we just shoot the shit on a fun podcast and share some awesome stories. But what's going on, V-Man? So anyways, your rocks. So like we need to figure out in 1 year's time, everybody can figure out 1 year's time where you need to be, okay? What I encourage you is to not think incrementally necessarily all the time. Hey, if your business is highly profitable, right? You're doing 200 to 300K in profit in a location consistently. Yeah, you might just target maybe a 10, 15% increase this year. That's reasonable. If you're not there, don't sell yourself short. Okay. Talk about Arnold. Arnold didn't become Arnold by just like trying to cover his mortgage and maybe a little bit extra, right? You really need to have a compelling vision of the future of where you want this business to be in a year. And it should be exciting. It should be exciting. Again, if you're already a very mature club that's really, 30 to 50% profit margins doing 200 to 300K, yeah, you might not be able to move the needle. And maybe your 1 year plan involves bolting on an online coaching business on top of it, or in multiple locations, or you getting involved in real estate or acquisitions, right? But what is that 1 year plan? Some of you, and this is good to do, and we're not really going to cover it today, so it's not too much, but we do need to zoom out to a bigger vision sometimes too. And everything that you do in life should align to your core values. But really, like if you can think 5 years out, even 10 years out, that's big. That's what we encourage you to do, right? As you guys know, we don't just help you get big, sexy profits. We teach you how to turn that into indestructible wealth and have your money make babies. So you have financial security and you can turn profits into wealth so you can live the lifestyle that you want. You can choose to work because you want to, not because you have to. You could choose not to work at all if that's your jam. It's not my jam. I tried that. I was very unhappy with it. But it's good to revisit this greater global vision because your business is meant to serve your life and move you along. You are not meant to serve your business. We get trapped in that. Okay. But a 10-year target is amazing to have. And they're just really dialing in, like, who's your avatar? Who's the target market that you truly want to serve and work with? I know it seems to be when we're short on leads. It's like, well, anybody who walks in the door. But the thing is that shoots you in the foot with marketing. So who do you really want to work with? That's important to think about. What are your uniques? Why are you different from the gym down the street? Do you have it boiled down? What's your proven process? The one that we use, the one that we give you is the 63-day transformation. It works so damn well. Some of you change it to be 8 weeks or 12 weeks and you white label it. That's great. But what's your proven process? All this, and what's the promise, the results that people can see and feel when they work with you? Some of you have a guarantee, some of you don't, but getting really big on this big strategy is a good thing, this vision, and then dialing into where do you want to be in 3 years. That's easier for people. What does it look like? What's the revenue? What's the profit? What does it look and feel like in your daily life? What are the things you're doing and not doing? I like people to zoom out a little bit because that creates a bigger vision that we need to work with. Then from there, we can figure out, if you know where you want to be in 10 years roughly, I know that's hard, but you can get pretty granular on a 3-year vision, right? Well, let's take that 3-year and do math and just knock it down to a 1 year. Okay. What is that future date for you? What is the revenue you're bringing in? And for any of the legends, don't worry, you're going to get our whole gym operating system. How far are we from launching that, Josh, do you think?
Um, I'm gonna tease it. Actually, we're about to have our team kickoff call. I'm gonna tease it on that call, and I hope to have the um presentation done in like 2 weeks. And I hope to do, with your approval, I hope to do like the first VTO, mission call in probably the 3rd week of July.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm so excited for this, guys, because this is stuff that we've already proven to work. We've been doing this inside of PT Legends for a bit. And I can't tell you how clear things are and how fast we're moving. And our vision has expanded in what we thought was possible because of the way we're working together now. And then taking that, and Dave and I, you and I have started working with some of these aspects into the studio operators or our gyms. And it's just working. It's just working so well. So now we get to bring it to you guys, all the legends. You're going to get this very shortly. Cannot wait to guide you through this whole thing. But so that's awesome. That's just around the corner, Josh. So really, yeah, what is that 1 year goal? What are those measurables? Very simple, right? You should have revenue. You should have profit. It might boil down to very simple metrics, such as your churn and how many new people you need. It might be about it. And then the next thing you have to set is those goals for the year. So what are those exact numbers? And then what are some of the things that you need to do to make that a reality? For some of you, it might be hiring. You might need to hire and to get yourself off the last remaining 10 hours a week that you're on the floor. It could be you're replacing yourself in sales at this point. It could be a lot of different things. Okay. But what are your goals for the year? Based on your goals for the year, what do you need to do in the next 90 days to move there? And what are those rocks? So we're going to call those rocks, right? What are those rocks for the quarter? And who is responsible for them? Who owns that ultimately? The other thing that you have to talk about and think about and discuss with your team is, what are some of the issues? What are some of the obstacles that come up? What are some of the opportunities? And a lot of it is like, hey, what's preventing us from get there? What do we have to discuss? So walk us through, Josh, on what we do with these issues.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the sheet that we're on right now, the Gym OS quarter rocks, the issues is all about like, hey, what is going to keep us from achieving the 90-day rocks that are ultimately going to keep us from achieving the 1 year plan. So I boiled this down to 5 C's, which the guys haven't even heard yet. So they're getting to hear this first time too. But basically, what are our capabilities? What is the team capacity? The commitment. So when I speak about commitment, it's not willing, or it's not putting more effort into it, but what will you let go to get this done? Okay, what will you let go of to get this done? Okay. Clarity, does it align as we're looking back up, to the 90-day rock, the 1 year, the 3 year, the 10 year, does it align? And then will we give it the consistency that it needs? So it's any of those things that would keep us from the 90-day rock. We're going to write those down into the issues list. Then we would prioritize those as it says right here on the sheet. And then we're going to identify. So what is identify? Really what it is, what's the real problem, right? Not the what we think it is, but what's the real problem. Okay, so the way that we identify that is just to really open it up to the second one, which is discussion. We're going to discuss it until we get super, super clear about what's going on. And then we're going to solve it forever. A good leader solves something once, a great leader solves something forever.
Awesome. I love it. And there's a few things in there, guys. It's, what's going to prevent you from getting there? Anybody can just pick numbers.
Yep.
Right. It just, okay, here's our targets. Getting there is the hard part, right? And really digging into it. This is where we need to know math and data and what it's going to take to get us there. Because if we look at, when we look at making big, sexy profits, a lot of people's real issues might be price. A lot of you guys aren't playing a winnable game with the math. And you look at realistic churn and realistic acquisition, and it's like, and the expenses associated with bringing in more members and maintaining more members, it's like, no, you're screwed. You're not even playing a winnable game at this point. You'd be surprised how often it just comes down to you need a high and a mid-ticket offer. Your low-ticket offer is not enough with the market to get you to where you need to be. You're always going to be struggling. For some of you, it's going to be on the lead flow side. It's going to be the fact that you're still running ads like it's 2019, and that's not working anymore. Dave, we have just changed things up with our ads to do audience building and awareness ads, getting video views that people watch at least 10 seconds for literally 3 cents a pop. It's not even designed to get leads, but our click-through rate to our website is going bananas on it. I got stats yesterday. Your video is beating mine, Dave, still. But my actual viewers are lower. So we'll see how it ends up. We recorded the same thing, but it's a 2-minute video designed to get people to know us. Because all we ever do, all gyms ever do is put out a call to action, a free session, a 6-week challenge. And in a lot of markets that doesn't hit anymore. And you might get the leads, but they're not coming in. And man, we've been switching things up, and holy shit. But also you can't just rely on paid ads, dual lead flow, organic leads. Holy cow. The play that we just ran, Brandon closed 11 this month so far, $0 in paid ad spend for that. That is literally just an existing play. And he's only been soft open for 5 months. So the list is like pretty small, but he's 11 for 11 bringing people in with that, like dual lead flow. So like, you really got to identify, what are these obstacles that are going to prevent you from doing it and solve it?
Yeah. Can you go back to that slide? Can I nerd out for a second?
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a huge, huge part of all this and this systematic thinking that I'm talking about here in terms of your issues and your capabilities, capacity, and all of that. And Scott has really outlined this thing into a system of lead flow to winning with price, building the team, automating the profits, right? All of these things most people are not thinking about in terms of their pricing strategy, their team strategy, all of that feeds into that total system. So when you put something in like this, a dual lead flow, how it works, how that moves down into price, how that moves down into the team for fulfillment, we can look at it in terms of those issues to the 90-day rock and really figure out the capabilities, the capacity of our team, the capacity of our ability to get lead flow, and the commitment, everything that I'm talking about to these things. And it's extremely important to be that finite and to be that direct into it. And I've been coaching gym owners. These guys know, of course they know, they hired me to do this for like 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see is everybody's just taking a bunch of shit and throwing it up against the wall instead of actually knowing what their system is.
Yep.
So, like, this is one of the biggest ways that we can help you is integrating these pieces and then getting these bigger plans and driving you forward.
It sounds subtle, guys, but I cannot tell you how powerful it is. It wasn't until, and we're not going to get into the certain meeting. We'll talk just in general about it in a little bit, but the meetings, I understood some of these concepts, but it wasn't until Josh took our PT Legends team through our weekly leadership meeting that, and we could see the flow, and we could see the responsibility, we could see the accountability within our organization, and it just like clicked for me. And I'm like, holy shit, that was that missing keystone. And then everything made sense. And one thing that you mentioned, Josh, is some of this is like what you have to give up in order to do it. And this is where we talk about how you can double profit in half the time. Because if I skip ahead to like in our accountability chart in PT Legends, right? And I'll show you a gym organ. We'll get to that in a second too, the accountability chart. But we had to reorganize our accountability chart. I had to give up tasks that I was doing because I'm the bottleneck. And it's crazy because I get to do less, but we're on just a rocket path. And it's the same thing. Like, we've got to identify those bottlenecks, and you have to give up things, do less in order to gain more, which is pretty cool. So that's a good explanation of what we do when we identify these issues and these obstacles and these things that could prevent us. V-Man, yes, for Josh's contact info. We'll get that to you afterwards. You can reply to it. So yeah, the rocks and all that kind of stuff. We need to get very clear on this greater vision, right? And again, zoom out here. Zoom out to more than just money. What is the lifestyle that you want to create for you and your family, right? Then let's get granular from that great bigger vision, that 3-year picture, down to the 1 year, down to the 90-day rocks, down to solving what's going to prevent you from getting those rocks done. Okay. For some of you, it's hiring. It's going to be different for everybody. So that's how that works. And then we kind of go on to, once we know where we're going, then it comes down to the org chart, and here's one for a gym. Okay. Let me show you how simple this can be. So first of all, draw a distinction between who owns the gym, whether it's just you or you and partners, and who works in the gym as an employee. That's an important distinction. And we conflate these two all the time. And unfortunately, we build a business that's broken right from the get-go quite often. We talk about margins, right? Let's see if I can show, and we share, you guys know, we share our P&Ls. We talk about, hey, we really want you doing 150, 200, 300K plus profit per location. And doing that, not bringing in $1 million in revenue a year, but doing it with 30, 50% profit margins. If you're an owner operator working full-time in the business, doing 40 hours a week, maybe more, something like that, can you achieve over 50% margins? Yes, you can. If you have it set up where, hey, I'm really just I'm replacing myself, and I'm more or less just a shareholder at this point, or I'm only working a few hours, you're going to be closer to 30% margins, right? Because you got to pay to replace yourself in there. And you might be somewhere in between. You might be like, hey, my sweet spot is working 20 to 30 hours a week and loving life. Great. That's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide, right? That's your vision. And it might change over time, right? But quite often is we don't account to be a shareholder. We don't build a business that can have the ability to run without us. Even if you don't want to have the ability to run without it, for it to run without you, and you want to work full-time in there, you do need to build it like a real business anyways. Otherwise, your profit margins are too thin. You can never afford to hand off the things that you hate and don't like. Like, I don't want to be the guy that sets up the ads on the back end with Facebook and the pixels and the bullshit and the funnels connecting to the CRMs and the automations on text and learning go high level. I don't want to do that. And frankly, that's what causes me to work so much and not make much money when I'm the one doing that. I got to be able to afford to pay somebody to do that. Right? So you need to begin with the end in mind with this stuff. So first off, recognize that you and your partners, your shareholders, you deserve to get a return in exchange for the money that you put in, the risk that you take on, period. Beneath that, you have a studio operator, a gym or a studio operator. Okay. This is like who owns this role. For two partners, somebody's got to own this thing. You can't both own it. Okay. Now you can have totally different roles underneath that, but somebody's got to like be responsible for the overall ship and direct it. Okay. When we look at like PT Legends, that's me. I'm the visionary. Right. And then what we were missing, I was working so hard and doing so much, and I just couldn't keep up on the bottleneck that we're like, Josh, you're missing an integrator. And that's Josh. And you're like, you're right. Like, I am the one holding everything back. I need to be the face of the business. I need to do the events, the speaking, the live broadcasts, manage big relationships, create the overall framework, solutions, strategies, and the tactical stuff. Lead with the high level stuff. And I didn't have anybody to do the leadership, the management, the accountability. I can't do all of that. When it comes to the meetings and the reporting and the management putting it all together, the process management, I can't. I was missing Josh. Now I'm going to simplify this for a gym. There's an operator. Their role is to lead, manage, and hold everybody else accountable. They are the ones, this could be separated if there's two of you, but you can't abdicate marketing to somebody else. You can't do it. Like, you can't just hand it off, hire this company to run your ads and like hand it off to them. You've got to take personal responsibility and learn how to do this. Secret, if you learn how to build a good personal brand profile, if you learn how to be a 5-mile celebrity and be famous in a 5-mile radius in your gym, you will never have to worry about leads again. That's a big component of what we teach in there. But the gym operator needs to be able to really take that. And then admin. Admin, thankfully, shouldn't be very much. We've worked really hard to be lazy with our gyms. You shouldn't have much reporting and payroll and admin stuff. If it is, you're probably running too complicated of a business. And we need to take a look at that and chop out shit that's causing you work and stress, but not adding to your bottom line. Okay. So that's it. Now, underneath that, there's different roles, right? There is the in-house ones for sure are sales, training, the delivery. Some people call it coaching, but I'm going to call it training, the delivery of the workouts. And for those of you who have a higher mid-ticket program or offer nutrition coaching, the nutrition coaching or mentorship. That's it. Sales, delivery of workouts, and the nutrition coaching or mentorship. Now, depending on where you are, if you're a solo operator, that's all you, right? As you scale up, one of the easiest things to hand off is the training, is the delivery of the workouts. A more challenging thing is the nutrition coaching or mentorship. Now, our 63-day transformation is so stupidly simple and scalable. We found a really good way to hand that off. I struggled with that before because I can guide and coach somebody on habits and lifestyle change, be motivating where they're going to not just make the changes, but remain a client in that capacity. But when I handed it off to people underneath me, I ran into problems. They just didn't have the knowledge. They didn't have the charisma, or they weren't able to kind of like really direct them and lead them. But when Dave, when you and I crafted the 63-day transformation over a period of years, probably, it got streamlined and streamlined and streamlined, and it's so simple. And then the tracker that we built for it, and all the guide that you show, and like, here's how to do it, and the training you provided for that, Dave, it's stupid simple. So that's actually very easy to get out of now. The harder part is sales, right? Typically, a lot of times the owner is going to do this for an extended period of time. You can get out of this. Dave, how many times have you trained somebody's sales guy and brought them on for the gym owners? You ran a lot of people through.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of it now, is just opening up the playbook for that gym owner for them to do their own thing. And Jared Stillwell is the first name that pops in my head. I mean, holy crap. I mean, it's when you have that captain of the ship where you don't have to worry about sales, man, you can double your revenue in a very short period of time. So that's what I'm probably most passionate if I get a gym owner to put their head sales guy through a cohort. It's so fulfilling.
Yep. And so for most of you, for some of you, the gym or studio operator is doing all three. And for others, you've already gotten largely out of training or completely out of training. Then there's the nutrition coaching or mentorship. And then there's sales. And again, it doesn't have to be that exact order. If you have a Jared Stillwell on your staff, get that son of a bitch in sales. He's going to be better than you. He went through Dave's cohort. And I think it was his first month, Dave. He sold over 50 grand in new business. Right?
Yeah, he was at 40 to 50K within the first 30 to 45 days.
Yeah, depending on where we cut it and exactly where we counted it, right? Nuts. And this was at a CrossFit gym, I believe. Right? He was at CrossFit Devotion.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's at a CrossFit gym. So it's not like it's a one-on-one PT gym in a super ritzy area. No, he's working with people coming in at CrossFits, and he did that. It was nuts. So the responsibilities are, right here, sales, you got setting, closing, follow-ups, and marketing assistance, right? There's some things that you want to do on your social media profile or within, your email or text system to help out the studio operator if it's not you. Really, it's one person doing this, maybe two in a location, maybe two. Very, very rarely do you need more than one. Training, that's how many coaches or trainers you need for whatever your model is, large group, semi, one-on-one. Their chief responsibilities are programming, delivery of workouts. And then on the nutrition coaching and mentorship side, it's just that, nutrition coaching and accountability. Very simple and straightforward, right? Some other person that comes into play is a marketing integrator. So I was kind of talking about this. In general, somebody who knows how to really optimize your marketing is going to be better than you are at it for it. You can't abdicate your responsibilities, especially in the organic side, right? And you got to find a good one because they don't know how to put it all together and blend organic and paid together and do the right things. But at a certain point, you should probably hand it off to somebody to really assist you with social media copy and creative, your email and SMS campaigns, video production, CRM management, and paid ad campaign management. It gets to be a lot. So you do, and you could hire this internally, externally. You hire some of it, you do some of it yourself. But this is a big leverage point when you can afford to do so. And if you can't afford to do so right away, that's okay too. Okay. But you'll get there eventually. The thing that exists outside of this too is you need a good support system. This is a who, not how problem. It's not always like, well, how do I do all this? It's like, who already knows how to do this? So if you guys have never been involved in a coaching program or mastermind, you need to start first and foremost. It took me 6 years to get involved in my first one as a business owner. And I don't know if it was fear, doubt, ego, what it was, or a lot of them just aren't that great too, to be honest. This is where, when you just take the freaking shortcuts. The things that you don't know are the very things that are holding you back from this greater vision 5-10 years down the road. Get in the room with people who figure this shit out, who aren't one-trick ponies, who are actually walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So a support system. If you're not in coaching programs, if you're not extending your education, if you don't have somebody helping you figure out what are these big rocks and what are the issues and how do I break those issues and these obstacles, do it. Holy shit. It's just we do it. We walk the walk. Dave, Josh, we always work with different groups and different masterminds. One thing that's helped us take giant leaps ahead is the fact that we don't just do it in the gym space. It's very siloed, right? And most people just teach the shit everybody else does, and the stuff that worked in 2018 before COVID that is having issues now. You don't want a one-trick pony. You want different perspective, different business models, different things like that. That's why we have reached outside of the gym owner mastermind space too. I mean, shit, we spent 30 something $1,000 just to learn how to do monetize Facebook ads or Facebook groups, excuse me. We spent way more than that on Facebook ads. Let's be real. But a lot of times the best ideas aren't coming from just one source. But you need somebody to help guide you through on your profit strategy, your prices, your offers, your model expenses, your acquisition strategy, your retention strategy, your wealth strategy, and your growth and lifestyle strategy too. All very important. One of the biggest mistakes I did was trying to do all this stuff alone and trying to come up with all the answers myself. Nothing could be dumber or have held me back for so many years. Josh, the stuff that you've learned from different sources on this Gym OS stuff, you've learned it in different places, and we're modifying it and bringing it in-house for PT Legends. We've modified it and brought it in-house for the gyms, and we're exploding.
Yeah.
How do you not invest, right?
Yeah, I've ran it in three different businesses, and it's just been amazing that the clarity and everything that happens, and like you said very early on, getting everybody to pull in the same direction, like it's insane.
Yeah, it's awesome. And if you can feel the excitement, it is because we're exploding right now. And Josh is like, I think we've been operating about 20% of our potential. And as we started doing this, I'm like, oh, you're right. We've literally been operating at 20% of our potential. And it wasn't for lack of trying. It wasn't for lack of effort. It was just, we didn't have that shit moving all in the same direction in the right way. So one big thing too, guys, I forgot to mention to you, as you're establishing where you want to be, down the road in 3 years, in 1 year, what are the things you need to do this year to get there, and focusing it down to 90 days. One thing that a lot of you are missing when I hop on calls with so many of you is we don't have clear data. And it's hard sometimes to make very clear decisions without that. Now, I know how overwhelming that can be sometimes, because the gym software out there, whether you're using MindBody, whether you're using Push Press, whether you're using Zen Planner, whether you're using XYZ, they don't really do a good job of showing you the hyper relevant data and then tracking your actions that coincide with it either. And it's overwhelming. And I'm sure you guys have tried doing it for a bit, whether it was a few days, weeks, or months, and stopped. But I can't tell you how many times people don't know their numbers. And if we know our numbers, we can move fearlessly and know exactly where we're going. So as part of some of these bigger things, let me show you really briefly how we have you guys do this. It is 15 minutes to set up your month. 15 minutes. You put in there your monthly recurring revenue, your EFT, whatever you call it. Now, you'll have old business beyond that, right? Some people will do PIFs or one-off renewals or packages. That's fine too. You add that so you know what your projected old business for the month is. You have your goal for your number of new clients and your goal total monthly finish revenue. As long as all you got to do is put in the yellow stuff, guys. And then you just put in the numbers at the start of the month. Okay. How many members do you have? That's it. And then you're going to figure out, hey, what are the 1, 2, or 3 things I need to focus on this month to move the needle? Okay. That aligns with my 90-day rocks. At the end of the month, you're just going to, if you're running paid ads, it's a big if, you're going to put in your ad spend and the cost to run those if you have somebody else running it. Cost per lead as well. Now, here's what you do on a weekly basis. If you have managers and you're kind of largely out of the business like I am, I want them to report revenue month to date and where they project to finish at. That'll change. Maybe it's new business off to a fast start, a slow start. Maybe we have a big paid in full renewal that doesn't come through. I don't like any surprises on my P&L. So I have them just send that every week. There are certain KPIs that you may or may not track. It's totally custom. And you just track at the end of the week how you did. Maybe one of the big things is getting relationship deposits made for organic acquisition and offers, things like that. But the big stuff is, and we'll customize that for you, but the big stuff is separate organic and paid ads. Organic is phone calls and walk-ins and stuff from your website, right? At the end of each week, just write down your leads, consult, shows, closes. How much recurring revenue did it add or one-time package it added? You can keep track of your consults over here. And at the end of the week, it takes you 10 minutes, fill it in for organic, fill it in for paid. Why do we want to distinguish between that? Because now we know our return. Now we know our cost per acquisition. We know our short-term return on ad spend. We know our long-term. But the big things is, that's it, 15 minutes. And then if you have existing clients, keep track of upgrades and downgrades and cancels. That's it. And then we'll know exactly for the month, the big revenue, the big levers that we need to pull. We know your ARM or your ACV, how much the average person's worth on a monthly basis. Super important number. And this will factor in your group and your PT or whatever it is, right? We'll know your churn, which is massively important because everybody's projections never include churn. And then you wonder why you're working so freaking hard and you're not making any more money. Churn is super important. It can be difficult to calculate. This will do it for you. All you got to do is put in how many closes you had and upgrades and downgrades on a weekly basis. We know your estimated lifetime client value, short-term return on ad spend, long-term return on ad spend, cost per acquisition. We know everything we need to dial your business in to get it to where you want to be. Hey, just a quick reminder to everybody, if you are ready to start making an extra $10,000 more this month, every month, by making more money with less clients with transformational programs and create a consistent flow of high-quality leads, you can learn more about what it's like to work with me and my team at PT Legends and how ridiculously affordable it is at CoachScottCarpenter.com. It is such a no-brainer that it more than pays for itself when we teach you how to enroll just two case study clients. Really, that's it. So go to CoachScottCarpenter.com and learn more about it. The cool thing is yeah, you might have a bad month or a good month in churn. This will automatically tally everything up for the year. So we know your churn is at 5.3%. We know your cost per acquisition is $186. We know in the short term, you're making 186% ROI. In the long term, you're making like 8,000 or 800% ROI. We know everything about it. We know exactly how many clients you need to sign up on a weekly basis to be on target to get to where you need to be. So we need good data and we need it to be simple. I can't have you take up more than 15 minutes of your week doing this. Otherwise, guess what? You won't do it. And if you won't do it, now I don't know how to help you hit your big vision, your 3-year plan, your 1-year plan, and so on and so forth. So we need clean, easy data that actually tells a story and drives our actions. Does that make sense? Any questions you guys have on that? Feel free to throw them in the chats too. Josh, Dave, is that clear?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay, good. So yeah, it's really, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, but it's this accountability chart where everybody owns the job that they own. And it's very clear what needs to be done. And when everybody knows what role they have, what responsibilities have, you can get the right seats, the right people in the right seats moving in the same direction. And from there on out, you just need a weekly leadership meeting. You just need a weekly leadership meeting. So do you kind of want to walk through this, Josh? Because you're better at this than I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to I know we don't have tons of time left because we want to keep this tight. And again, we've got that offer for you guys where we'll hop on with you and teach you the next 3 steps that you need to do to move to the next level. And it's going to be free to you and it's just going to be value add. So hang on to that. But Josh, yeah, do you want to kind of tease it, not get too into the weeds on it though?
Yeah, absolutely. So the basic thing or the high level overview is to think of this like a heartbeat. So a lot of places have no meeting, so there's no heartbeat, right? Some people have it once a month, so there's 12 heartbeats. But if we do it once a week, then we have 52 heartbeats and we have 52 opportunities to work through our issues and course correct in the direction that we're going, which is our 90-day rocks ultimately to our year, to the 3-year, to a 10-year. So in that, all of this is really spelled out in the agenda. We do a quick segue to just check up on everybody in the organization because people come first. So we want to check up on everybody. Scorecard review. Are we on track, off track? with our scorecards, rock review on track or off track, customer employee headlines, just a time to give any customers or employees a shout out, to-do lists, holding each other accountable. How often do we give people to-dos and then we never know if they get done, and there's no accountability within the organization whatsoever? All the freaking time. Okay. This makes it loud and clear. Did you do your to-do or not to do? It's just a yes or no. All of these are just yes or no's, by the way. We don't talk about what's going on. If there's an issue, we just say issue and it gets added to the issue list that you see in the middle of your screen. Okay. So we finally get to the issues, and we already kind of discussed that. We identify, so we talk it until it's very clear what the issue, the problem, the obstacle is. Then we discuss it till we know what it is, and we solve it completely. Okay, we solve it completely, right? So basically what this does is it allows us to always be pushing towards our rocks. Okay, if the issue has nothing to do with what we're trying to accomplish in that next 90 days, then we don't fucking do it. Okay.
Yep.
We just scratch it through. Doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't help us get where we're going. Doesn't matter. Okay. And then finally conclude, recap the to-do list. Okay. You are to do this, you're to do this, you're to do that. Cascading messages. Is there anybody that we need to tell anything? And finally, rate the meeting. Okay. We always want to get a 10 out of a 10 on our meetings so that we know that they're worthwhile. Because going back to the very beginning, why do most people do 0 meetings? Because they don't see that they're worthwhile.
Waste of time.
Right.
I can't tell you how, and yours aren't going to be 90 minutes like this. Yours are going to be trimmed down. So
yeah.
Brad, no. So who asked? Derek asked, like, how do we get the spreadsheet and stuff? So we're Josh and I are compiling this, like all the legends, like this is just part of, you get our whole gym operating system. We're going to put our finishing touches on this and simplify it for gym owners. Because like, if we go to our PT Legends one, right, we've got a much bigger org chart. There's a lot of different stuff. You know, you can see we even have different departments in there, which will run its own meetings. So you can see, you know, we have our sales and marketing ones. We have our to-dos on that one. We have our fulfillment ones, which we're just starting up. It's a beast. Now, when it comes to your gyms, like I said, it's a much simpler process. You've got a much more simple accountability chart. So we're putting some finishing touches on our Gym OS whole thing before we get it out to everybody. And I'm really excited about that. But your meetings are likely going to be 45, 60 minutes, as opposed to ours, which are 90 minutes for a different company like this, right? So we're going to really simplify the living hell out of this thing for you. And you need a place to jot down the ideas. You know, I can't tell you how many times good ideas for ads come out, and we got to capture them somewhere, or a marketing idea. And that's how so much of this is so robust now, is because we're capturing this stuff, we're taking action on it, we're building it into our meetings, and we're all moving in the same direction. And it is magic when you get that happening. But holy shit, it took me 12 years of being a business owner to get this to happen, mostly thanks to Josh Price. So that's pretty cool. And if we look at it, guys, if we zoom out again, I need you to have this more compelling vision of the future. It's not just about the money. Make big forget revenue. First off, who cares about revenue? That can be an ego metric. What matters is how much you're taking home. Okay. I know people doing an 8-figure business, you know, or 7-figure business, you know, doing $1 million, but their profit margin is only 12%. Not great. I also know people doing $20,000 a month who are making more money, taking home more money than somebody doing $1 million. So like, forget revenue, big, sexy profits. What do you take home? Because your business model is going to be different from somebody else's. It's all about the profit, but more than that, how do you turn profits into indestructible wealth? That is huge. That's the next step, so that you can live the lifestyle that you want. You can choose to work because you want to, not because you have to. So very important. And there's a lot of those steps in there. Again, we're just kind of covering really down here what we're talking about, being able to double your profits while working half the time. It involves leverage. This is going to help you build your team and set up a gym operating system so you can automate these profits. Very important. Last week, we talked a lot more about winning with price, how a higher price by bolting on a high and mid ticket offer can make everything easier or unnecessary and reduce the amount of clients you need way down to a much more sustainable level. You know, we talked a little bit about lead flow as well, dual lead flow, organic, which is a huge missing piece. Shout out to Brandon, who just brought in 11 so far this month, completely organically, hitting a cold Facebook lead up with an organic play. But you becoming a 5-mile celebrity is huge. But there's a lot to do. And at the end of the day, this vision that I want you to zoom out and think about needs to be bigger than you just making your monthly mortgage here. It needs to be bigger than you just making 10% more than you did last year. I need you to think bigger and act bigger. And then you're very systematic looking at the data and where to go from it.
Can I say something on that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I cannot emphasize that enough what Scott just said. I had a gym client call, and the guy was basically like, you know, I just keep getting back to zero. I just keep getting back to zero. And then I go and I take my action and everything, and I make deals and all of this, and I get back to zero. And I was like, yeah, you're the greatest in the world at getting back to zero. That's your superpower. Okay. I need you to start thinking about where you want to be. Where do you want to be? And he's like, oh, I want to be at 25K, 30K months. And I was like, okay, you need to be the best in the world at getting to 25 and 30K months instead of getting back to zero. If all you plan for is to get your mortgage, that's all you're ever going to get.
Yeah. I'd rather fall short of a big goal and change my life in the process than achieve a small goal. And some of us need to think bigger about it. Shout out to Caleb, who's on this call. I see you there, man. You know, what you're doing is incredible. I cannot wait to help you. Like, this is phenomenal. Like, you're thinking bigger, and you're aligned with somebody who's thinking bigger too, which is awesome. Like, this is going to be really exciting to do. But yeah, man. And again, these steps we show you. You know, this isn't theory. This is what we're doing. I love it. It's just, it's show and tell, right? We open up P&Ls. We show you how to make the sexy profits. Then we show you how to build indestructible wealth and what that does so that you can live the lifestyle that you want, right? And I learned this the hard way. My goal is I want to save you 5 to 10 years of eating shit and speed this thing up. And I want to challenge you to be bigger than you otherwise would. Because again, it's like getting off that hamster wheel. Work because you want to, not because you have to. Hey, you have the option to retire early if you want. I did that for a bit. I was miserable. Like, I love being around people, and I love delivering value and doing stuff I'm passionate about. When I was working 3 to 5 hours a week or less, I was a lost puppy, man. I was a lost puppy. So yeah, this Gym OS thing, I cannot wait to launch this with all the legends. But it's really, I can't tell you how much it's changing our world right now. So thank you so much for kind of bringing this into play, Josh, and letting us play around with it and implement it. It's awesome. And yes, for those of you on the call too, and again, the ones that you had to type double profits in the chat, we'll reach out to you because I know you couldn't stay until the end. But yes, what we're going to do for the free offer that we promised, something that we typically just do with our paid clients, but we're going to help you implement the first 3 steps to be able to double your profits while working half the time. So I'm going to put up a QR code, and we'll put the links. We'll put the link in the Zoom chat and the Facebook chat if I can get your help with that, Craig. And I can actually handle Zoom if you handle Facebook. So it's there. I'll copy and paste it in the chat right now. This is right there. And if you're watching this on your laptop, you can use your phone. This QR code will book a call with you and walk you through the first 3 steps that you want to do to start making this a reality. It is not a sales call, so you can't buy anything on it if you tried. But if you do want to learn more about, we have an express program that's like 12 weeks where we take our first steps, and we have our year-long mastermind. If you want to learn about those, that's fine. Come on to this, but we would have to set up a separate call afterwards. And you're either going to be talking to me or Dave for that too. But I want to know about you, where you're at, where you've been stuck at, what your bottlenecks are, what you're doing for paid ads, how your team works. and I will tell you what I think you should start out doing. And I'll walk you through the different options, couple different options we have if you wanted to work with us. But again, that's not what this call is. This is just free help. So get it while it's here. And yeah, if you commented afterwards, or if you're watching this on the podcast later on or recording, check the show notes, and then, or check if you're watching it on video, check for this link where you can get this as well. We missed anything? We got any other questions, guys?
I don't see any.
Okay. So do me a favor. If you have any questions, you can stay on. We'll cut the recording here and stop it. If you have personal questions about personal stuff, the business, the well stuff, or with your whatever with your business, anything like that, you can stay on for a few minutes. I have a few minutes where I can answer some questions and dive into anything that's a personal concern for you without the recording on. So I'll cut it now. Stay on if you got questions. Thanks, Victor. Every Thursday, 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST, we're coming on live to help walk you through this, to help you implement this and make what we've done a reality for you. So every week, Thursday, 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST. We'll see you next week. Stay on if you got questions. Stay on if you have questions. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you are ready to start making an extra $10,000 a month or more this month by making more money with less clients and create a consistent flow of high-quality leads, you can learn about what it's like to work with me and how ridiculously affordable it is at CoachScottCarpenter.com. And if you got any value out of this episode, please pay it forward and leave a review for this show. It helps other gym owners find the answers to the huge problems that we all share. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.